When you think of Yu-Gi-Oh!, a few key monsters probably pop into your head. Dark Magician, Summon Skull, Kuriboh, Time Wizard. But for most people, Blue Eyes is the monster. Personally, I think you could call it the Charizard of Yu-Gi-Oh! They're both powerhouse dragons, they're both fan favorites, they're both worth a lot of money if you have the right copies, and they're both synonymous with the card games they represent. But that's all stuff you already know about. For this video, I want to dig a bit deeper. How did Kazuki Takahashi even design it in the first place? How has the Blue Eyes' legacy influenced the rest of the card game? And just what exactly is it about this awesome creature that made it such a fan favorite for over 2 decades? So without further ado, let's dive in. So here's a fun fact to kick us off. If Blue Eyes White Dragon is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster, then congratulations, you have one more thing in common with the late Kazuki Takahashi himself. It's true, in one of the forwards to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga volume, Takahashi actually lists his 10 favorite monsters, and Blue Eyes predictably sits at the very top. One thing I was curious about is the look of Blue Eyes White Dragon. Like, when you think about it, this thing is really unique in that it resembles neither a traditional Eastern or Western dragon. It's kind of its own thing. Well, here's what we do know. Kazuki Takahashi was a huge fan of Western media, and this influenced the design for the Blue Eyes in 2 ways. First, many of Takahashi's early designs drew inspiration from Magic the Gathering. Literally, the card game that the characters played was even called Magic and Wizards early on before it was renamed to Duel Monsters. So, unsurprisingly, a lot of fans have pointed out the similarities between Blue Eyes and the magic creature Chromium. And well, just look at them. The similar body structure and posing, it can't be a mistake, right? It's a pretty cool nod to the card game that helped pave the way, but there's something you might not have known. Takahashi mentioned in a recorded interview that one of his favorite Western movies is Jaws. And he even outright says that the shark-like design is what created Blue Eyes' unique mouth and teeth style. It's kind of hard to unsee it once you notice. Anyway, I think one of the most ironic and brilliant things about Blue Eyes White Dragon is that it isn't the hero's ace card. It actually belongs to the protagonist's rival, Seto Kaiba, and he kind of won't shut up about it. Seriously, out of every character in the show, Kaiba is the one person who absolutely refuses to let anyone forget what his ace monster is. Yugi's connection to Dark Magician is about partnership and trust. Joey's bond with Red Eyes is about potential and fighting spirit. But Kaiba's relationship with Blue Eyes is something else entirely. It's an obsession. In the anime, Kaiba doesn't just play the card, he screams its name from the rooftops of castles and skyscrapers. He kind of markets his entire corporate image around it. He combines 3 of them to make the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. He even rips up a 4th copy just so no one can ever use it against him. The borderline maniacal devotion makes Blue Eyes basically a part of Kaiba's identity, and I think it's why so many of us kids fell in love with the card back in the day. That, and it had that weirdly unique roar sound. You know the one. Long story short, when you saw both Starter Deck Yugi and Starter Deck Kaiba on the shelf, we know which one you probably picked. And that's a perfect segue into the TCG itself. From day one, Blue Eyes was built to be a legend. It holds the record for the highest attack of any normal monster in the game, clocking in at a massive 3,000. A few have come close, but to this day, no other vanilla monster has or probably ever will surpass that benchmark. The first ever TCG booster set was literally named after it, Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. And if you were lucky enough to pull one back then and keep it in good condition, you have a real treasure on your hands. Outside of ultra rare prize cards, the original LOB Blue Eyes is the most expensive pullable card in this game's history. A pristine PSA 10 graded copy sells for close to $20,000 today. And of course, Blue Eyes holds the record for the most alternate artworks of any card in the game. As of me recording this right now, there are 10 different English Blue Eyes arts. Some are based on the manga, some are based on the anime, some get different backgrounds, and one even features Seto Kaiba in it too. Although that one's sadly a Japanese exclusive for now. Interestingly, while the original Legend of Blue Eyes printing is technically the most valuable, I found it's usually not very popular. Something about its weird broken neck, probably. It's the artwork from the anime that people recognize most, for obvious reason. Although, for whatever reason, the stone tablet art is the one Konami would use in most of the video game and other promotional material. So of course I gotta ask, which Blue Eyes White Dragon art do you like the most? Now let's talk support and playability. Despite being strong, Blue Eyes is still a high-level vanilla monster, so it wasn't exactly easy to just throw in a deck. Early on, it got a few different one-off support cards like Burst Stream of Destruction, which destroyed all of your opponent's monsters, and eventually the White Stone of Legend that let you search a Blue Eyes from your deck. Neither of those cards were amazing on their own, though. I guess I should also mention this bit of trivia about the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon promo from the Pyramid of Light movie in 2004. No, the card wasn't very good, but more importantly, you couldn't even legally summon it for a while. It required tributing a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and that card hadn't even been released yet in the TCG, coming out several months later in Shonen Jump magazine. Anyway, being a normal dragon monster, Blue Eyes has gotten lots of indirect support over the years, but it wasn't until Blue Eyes got its own dedicated structure deck, Saga of Blue Eyes White Dragon, in 2013, that things started to come together. It's where we got Maiden with Eyes of Blue, which kicked off an entire archetype of level 1 tuner monsters centered around summoning out Blue Eyes, all called the Eyes of Blue. 2016 also had new cards in the Shining Victory set, introducing the first official Blue Eyes Synchro monster, Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. And conveniently, that's right around the time when the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimension movie came out and released the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon in an exclusive movie pack. All of this combined to actually make Blue Eyes a strong enough deck to win that year's Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship. And it doesn't stop there. Fast forward to 2025 and Blue Eyes actually got a second structure deck called Blue Eyes White Destiny that expands and updates the Eyes of Blue archetype and gave us a few new Blue Eyes forms to play around with too, like the first Blue Eyes based Xyz monster and an ultimate form of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. All in all, Blue Eyes is still surprisingly playable and relevant in the game today. Now, an underrated legacy is how its name inspired a whole generation of Eyes dragons that would become the aces for protagonists and rivals in future Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. From Kite Tenjo's Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon in Zexal and Yuya Sakaki's Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon in Arc 5, all the way to TCG-specific archetypes like Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon. The naming convention started by Blue Eyes had become a tradition. Also, I can't be the only one who remembers Googly Eyes Drum Dragon. So all in all, what exactly makes Blue Eyes White Dragon so iconic? Well, in my opinion, it's a perfect storm. It's the signature card of one of anime's greatest rivals. It has a timeless and powerful design. It's worth a bunch of money if you pull a rare one. And it's been a pretty decent competitive deck at times. So what do you think of Blue Eyes White Dragon? What made it so memorable to you? What's your favorite artwork? Or are you like me and actually prefer Red Eyes instead? If you do, then check out this video I made where we talk about what the heck went wrong with its support.